Jefferson. I don't think there's any question that this guy has what it takes to be the number one wide receiver again. In fact, there is a pathway for him to get better than he was last year because he has increased yardage by 200 yards each season. He's also increased his targets by 20 targets, to be honest with you, or receptions, not targets, sorry, receptions from 88 to 108 to 128. So he's gone not only 200 yards, but he's also gone up 20 targets per season, or receptions per season. His targets have gone up.
You're saying he's going to break the receiving record this year.
I think he can. I think here's the thing. There were some games last year where we kind of got lost, where he didn't really do a great job with the targets he had. And part of it was because he was dealing with some top end coverages. I mean, when he played the Jets, they kind of shut him down that second time. And a couple other weeks he got shut down.
Jair Alexander shut him down the second
time he saw him too. So if you take games like that where he was completely shut down, which I don't think should be the case, considering they now have three very capable wide receivers this year, plus the fact that you lose Dalvin Cook, as we were talking about earlier, that you now have to look at this guy as being a premier receiver on a high volume passing offense, and a guy who also the touchdowns were going a lot to Dalvin Cook in that red zone. That may change with the Alexander Madison being the starter there.
Yeah, here's my one knock on Justin Jefferson. A lot of his touchdowns came on big plays, 20 plus yards. He's not a very big red zone target. Thielen was that. Now with Thielen gone, we don't know if KJ Osborne's going to be that. We don't know if TJ Hawkinson. What we do know is that Dalvin Cook's not there. So like you alluded to, this offense is going to go strictly to passing. I can't see a scenario where Alexander Madison is getting 250 plus touches or carries, let me say. He might have touches, but carries, I don't think he's going to have that. So this offense is going to shift a lot more towards passing, and they were already one of the premier passing teams in the league. Now here, there is some downside, like that kind of progression is not sustainable because now we're looking at unprecedented numbers. If he goes 200 more yards receiving, he's at 2,000, over 2,000 yards. We're saying he's going to have 148 receptions if he keeps increasing on that number. So I think there is some plateauing. But like you said, there's TJ Hawkinson, Jordan Addison, KJ Osborne. I don't think teams are going to be able to scheme to just take away Justin Jefferson again.
Yeah.
And I think that might open up more things for him, especially in the big play. So, I mean, I love Justin Jefferson. He's unanimously the number one. I think there are two other guys that can be in that discussion, but that's it. There's three guys in the discussion, and that's it for me. But Justin Jefferson could very well be the wide receiver number one overall by a long margin again.
Well, here's my thing about him last year. He had 4 games last year where he was held under 50 yards, and they all came on low volume except for one of them early against the Eagles. So that's that week 2 against the Eagles. He had 6 receptions on 12 targets for only 48 yards. They did a good job of shutting him down there, but all the other games, 3 for 6 in receptions for 14 yards, 3 for 5 for 33 yards, 1 for 5 for 15, 4 for 5 for 38. I don't see those games happening that often. And to me, I think that was less on Jefferson, and I think it was a nod to the defenses, but I think it was a little bit more on Kirk Cousins and how that offense schemed against. And if you look at that, out of those games where he was down that low, they lost 3 out of the 4 of those games. So I think you see a correlation with the victories for the Vikings as well as his success in the air, through the air. So I think you're going to see a little bit of a change. I think there's going to see more games maybe where he's like 6 for 8, but he did that twice last year, and he was 6 for 8 2 games in a row against Miami and Arizona. He had 107 yards against Miami, 98 against Arizona. So no touchdowns on either of those games, but again, I think he's going to have a big uptick in touchdowns because he went 2 in week 1 against Green Bay, and he didn't have another touchdown for 5 weeks, I believe it was. No, 6 weeks till week 8. And I don't see there being that big of a gap again, in my opinion.
That's kind of my one knock on him for who my number two is the number two is just volume, just the same, but he's a red zone threat. He scores a lot of touchdowns. Um, and if he didn't get hurt last year, he could have been the number one too. I think that both the guys last year, my two and my three, that we'll talk about, they if they didn't have injuries to either themselves or to their quarterback, they could have been better than Justin Jefferson was last year. And the knock on him is that it's the touchdowns, right? It's he's not targeting in the red zone, so and he needs the big play to score. And he gets the volume, he gets the receptions, he gets the yardage. That's fine. In PPR, that's absolutely fine. He's going to be a monster in PPR. But this is also why you kind of alluded to. This is why I love running backs in the first round, especially in the top 5 picks, rather than going and get one of these wide receivers, is because even a low, like the top 3 running backs, they're still going to post up 10 points. Like it's very hard for them not to have get to that 10-point mark. With wide receivers, they can get schemed out of a game. It's very easy to get schemed out of a game, especially if a team is just like, we're gonna let KJ Osborne beat me. We're gonna let Jordan Addison or TJ Hawkinson beat us. We're not gonna let Justin Jefferson beat us. And you saw it with the second Green Bay game when they played and Jair Alexander just shut him down, and Green Bay schemed to just get him out of the game. You're like, let someone else have a big game. We don't care. Justin Jefferson is not going to beat us.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think we both agree he's the number one guy. I don't disagree with that. I feel like it also is tough to just say, hey, yeah, the 3 guys are going to give you 10 top 3 running backs are going to give you 10 points. But here's the thing is someone like Justin Jefferson is going to be a game breaker, a week winner for you at the wide receiver position. Whereas that maybe that running back 3 may not be that. He just may be a steady Eddie for you.